Alright, so The Sandman Season 1 is finally out, and overall, with fans, it was pretty much a success. Fans and critics alike. Critics liked it 86%, fans 85%. I mean, if you want to know my initial thoughts, which, if you're watching this video, you probably do, since I'm going to be doing the Sandman review here on Rants or Us. My initial thoughts of it was disjointed episodes, uncertain who should be the main characters and who should be the main villain. And overall, the stories felt fragmented. They really, truly did. And that's just my initial take over it. I'll get more into that. But I'm feeling really good today, so I'm going to get into the things that I liked first. I usually am more of a pessimist, and I like to go with what I hated more. But I'm actually going to go with what I liked more. I thought Tom Sturridge did a decent job of Dream. My only complaint was that he didn't have enough lines. He had the brooding aspect down. He was really had that foreboding kind of feel to him. Even though he's not a big man, he kind of has that voice that really kind of sounds a little scary in the dark, and that kind of worked for me a little bit. He looked like he's supposed to look. From the comic book. So I love that aspect of him. So overall, I thought Tom Sturridge, they would give him a little bit of lines. What lines he did have, thought he did excellent on. They'd give him a few more lines, made him more of a main character in this show. I thought overall Dream would be a really interesting character, and I look forward to seeing more of him maybe in season 2. At least I would hope to see more of him, since the show is called The Sandman. But in this show, you never know. I mean, you just never know. One thing that I will say, probably the person that I thought stole the show when it come to their portrayal was the actress who played Death. I'm a huge Supernatural fan, and I loved how they portrayed Death in that series. But I've never seen one so unique as what the portrayal was on The Sandman, where you truly feel like a very sympathetic character. You got a character like the Sandman who's really, I don't know, he's just aloof. He's not, doesn't understand humans very well. And then you got somebody like Death, who isn't that cold touch that you would expect, is instead a very welcome face. And that was a really breath of fresh air into this show with her portrayal of it. I'll be honest, I would have loved to have seen just a series just with her alone. I would have loved to have seen her and Morpheus just team up together and just go on missions or do things in episodes and just learn human beings, or learn things about human beings and learn things about himself. I would have loved that if we would have got to see more of it. Unfortunately, we did not. That unfortunately was not the route that they wanted to go. We didn't get to see enough of her, and that was very disappointing. But I am truly looking forward to seeing her in season 2. But man, I will never forget this portrayal. If there's one thing that stands out from The Sandman Season 1 that I can honestly say was an absolute and total success, was Death. That portrayal of Death is one that I will never forget as long as I live. I absolutely loved it. And I felt like this show was at its best when it was introducing new characters. Whether it was Lucifer, whether it was Cain, whether it was Abel, whether it was, of course, Death. This show worked better when it was introducing characters from either the dream world or, the hell realm or whatever it may be. It worked great in that way. It made the show feel magical. Where I felt like the show lost a lot of its magic was when it was dealing with the real world characters. I don't feel like it portrayed that in a interesting manner. It instead went to the normal kind of tropes that you would expect in something, kind of like with that girl's brother that, of course, he's being locked in a basement and being, tortured by his adopted, whatever, step parents or adopted parents because they want money. I mean, we've seen that before in something. That wasn't original in any way. I didn't care about that storyline, to be honest. There was so many plots that was dealt with in the real world that I just had no feeling about. But I did care a lot about these characters when it come to, like I said, Lucifer, who I forget her name. I think her name is Gwendolyn. I think she is down here. Let me see if I don't think they have her down here. I want to say her name is Gwendolyn something, but she played Tarth in Game of Thrones, and I thought she did an amazing job. And I thought she did an amazing job as Lucifer. I know a lot of people had problems with her taking over that role. I personally didn't. A female played that role in Constantine, the movie with Keanu Reeves. I mean, so it didn't bother me a bit. I thought she did a great job in playing that character. Lucifer, she was kind of scary as Lucifer. She was captivating as that character. I felt like Cain and Abel had a really cool side story about, how Abel has to live with this brother that is constantly murdering him, and how he's had to come to terms with this, and how, he still shows this love and, this family caring for this brother who instinctually and just has this murderous rage that he can't control, that is always out for him, that has to do this cycle every day of murdering him. That was kind of a sad and tragic story, but it was interesting and fun to examine to a certain point. Like I said, Death. I can't say enough about Death. I thought Death was just brilliant in every single way. But so overall, the show was at its best when it was introducing us to these magical characters. It was at its worst when it was trying to deal with reality, because the reality it was trying to really speak about was reality we've seen a million times over. It wasn't showing us anything new and unique in that regard. Now, overall, when it comes to the tavern episode, that was just brilliant storytelling. That was, I will say that as much as I love Death as a character, I thought the one kind of side story that they actually did do that really stuck with me the most was the tavern one, with the human that keeps living forever. It goes through the ups and downs, but still finds the good in life and still wants to live and continue to move forward, and to still, find his humanity, even when somebody like Morpheus doesn't understand how. And I thought that was probably one of the most simplistic stories that they could have done, but it worked. I just really thought, you don't have to be convoluted with your stories. You can make it brilliant just by telling a simple story that people can relate to. I could relate to that guy. I could relate to, a man that, who has gone through things and who is suffering and been at his lowest points and at his highest points, but still can somehow find the bright side in life. I think we all can find that aspect and understand that person, because we've all probably been there at one time or another. So I love that story. I thought it was a very hopeful story. I look forward to seeing more standalone stories kind of like that in the future. And I thought it actually did a good thing about telling more about, the Constantine family and in that story as well. So it served a purpose outside of just telling that simplistic, beautiful storyline. It added depth to, the Constantine family and how Dream has a connection to them. So I thought that was interesting. So that was a really interesting kind of side story. Now, I'm not really a Patton Oswalt fan, but I thought he did a great job as Matthew. Lucien, the librarian, really stole the show for me in a lot of ways. I love the banter back and forth between her and her and Dream. Same with Patton Oswalt's Matthew. I felt like they were the only two characters that really kind of stood up to him to a little bit. I loved how Dream actually had to come to the realization that even though he's this omnipotent being, Lucy and the librarian, really, if she had the same powers as he did, could have done a better job than what he did. And he actually had to ask for advice from her from time to time. And I thought that added some depth to his character. I know a lot of people are going to see that as maybe some kind of like woke thing of another guy, not being able to do anything right. But I don't really look at it in that regard. I do see some aspects of that in this show, but not in that particular instance. I feel like Dream needs that to be a character that we can relate to. And I feel like Lucy and the Librarian makes him better. I feel like Matthew the Raven makes him better because you get some banter back and forth. Otherwise, Dream just kind of just stares off in the distance or feeds, bread to pigeons, and that's about it. I mean, that's all he really does. But he's at his best when he's dealing with this banter back and forth with these two particular characters. And overall, when it comes to 1 through 4 was by far the best episodes. It just was. It was the best episodes. 5, I thought was a terrible episode. Took me out of this show. After that, it was just a slog to get through it. That's just my personal opinion on it. Now, I did actually enjoy the Hector Lyta storyline. That was really compelling and really rather sad. So I did like that aspect of it. And basically the only thing that I enjoyed from part 2 of this season 1 of the Sandman was the eccentric characters from that motel or whatever they were staying at. I love them. The goth women, the gay guy, that gabbed a lot. I loved all of those characters. The guy that was cheating on his wife, and all of those kind of things. They added the Fiddler's Green. They were just really cool characters. I thought that was fun. I thought anytime that they were on screen, I really paid attention. I hope every single one of them is in season 2. If it's not, it's really going to be a bore. As far as a villain goes, the Corinthian worked as a great season 1 villain. You didn't have to bring down the house with the villain in season 1. You need to work up to something. This, of course, is going to get a season 2. I feel like he's a good build-up character to it. I thought the actor who played that role did a pretty good job playing that role. Decent. Had some great lines. I wish maybe they would have given some more depth. But other than that, I thought he was pretty much fleshed out pretty good. But, he's one of those characters that you never really thought was going to really stand against Dream. Maybe that's where Desire maybe should have come in and helped the Corinthian out a little bit. Because you never really felt like he was a character that really could harm anybody. That was really a main character. But other than that, he was fun to watch. He was fun to watch on screen. I really enjoyed that character. I enjoyed the actor that played that role. I hope maybe we even get to see that particular character in the future, even though I don't know if we will. Now for the things that I absolutely love. The things that I hated. Already mentioned this before. Dream can mope, but man, give that dude some lines. Give that man some lines. We didn't even, I think we got one line from him in episode 1. Other than him dealing with Lucy and the Librarian or Matthew the Raven, he really didn't talk that much. It was like one-liners, and they really weren't interesting lines. Let that man do his thing. Let him be the main character. If you're going to name the show after him, let him be the main character. Let him take over. Let him dominate and get more scenes, more screen time, and definitely more lines. Overall, I felt like the season 1 could have been written a lot better. Dream found his items way too quick. You know what? That should have been the whole premise of season 1, is him just finding his items. They could have spent more time in hell. They could have spent more time, I don't know, just in random places searching for, even with Joanna Constantine, searching for specific items or something. It should have lasted this entire season, but no, they found it by what? Episode 5? I'm like. And then you got 5 episodes that just kind of felt like it was just a bunch of nothing burger. It felt disjointed. That's where it felt where it went off track, is because you felt like we've already dealt with the journey. The journey's over. Now we need a season 2. But no, it's like, oh well, it's almost like the Batman film that just come out, where, the Riddler gets caught and then there's like another 20 minutes to go in the film. And that was the worst part of the film, was the last 20 minutes of the film, because the story was over. Well, that's the way I kind of felt like after, all of his items had been collected. Story's over. Go to season 2. So, they just made it too easy and too quick. They just made it way too easy for him to get his items. I was really shocked at how easy it was for him to find his items. I thought it was going to be at least stretched to like episode 9, but no. They barely made it stretch out to episode 5. Overall, I felt like the journey, the side characters were just far more interesting than Dream. Hey, I wasn't a fan of the latter part of season 1, but even those in that hotel or motel or whatever that is that they were staying in, that the Vortex was staying in, I felt like every single one of those characters had far more screen time than what Dream did, and that's a problem. And they were just far more interesting than what Dream is, which is saying something, because this is literally a guy that can create dreams from anything. He should be a fascinating character to even watch. Even if he's just creating stuff or destroying stuff, we should be able to see it and be enamored by it. We just weren't, unfortunately. So that's a problem. That's probably one of my bigger problems with season 1. The best episodes were definitely the flashback episodes. I really enjoyed it with the guy who plays Tywin Lannister in the early 20th century. I enjoyed the tavern episode. I enjoyed anything where it kind of went back in time a little bit. I liked those characters. I liked the parts of those episodes that they did that. I liked the kind of standalone stories that they did, like the tavern one. I thought that was the best part of a lot of these episodes. And as far as Joanna Constantine, look, you can't tell me, Neil Gaiman, that you didn't make Joanna Constantine, you didn't have John Constantine in there for no other reason than really woke politics. Now this is where I will get into the woke thing, because it's 2022, and of course you can't have a white male as anything that's interesting. So you got to add, of course, the female, give her all the same traits, the same everything, and then it's just the same character, but that character was kind of annoying. It didn't, maybe it's because I went in it realizing probably I wasn't going to like that character, and maybe I didn't give that character a chance, but I'm just like, man, she just felt like every female character that is done for woke points that is not likable. Just not likable. And I loved how, I totally get it. John Constantine in the comics is bisexual. But man, they really, really went after that in this series. And in the 1 or 2 episodes she was actually in, where they were like naming off, her past lovers, and they named off 3 girlfriends and 1 boyfriend. And I'm like, wow, they really put an effort into that. You really didn't have to name off 4 people in that, but they were really trying to make an emphasis on, really, she's a lesbian. That is kind of, I don't know, that kind of annoyed me, but that is one of those things that if you watch enough television, uh, those little things, like especially if you watch a lot of the CW or something, those things will get to annoy you because they're like sex scenes. They don't move the plot forward. They don't add depth to the character. They are just there to really just waste your time and to really give, like I said, woke points to the director or the creator or whoever to try to sell the project to these, something like Netflix. That's the way it felt. Really did. It felt forced in a lot of ways. But as far as, I didn't like Joanna Constantine. Too many villains. You had John D. You had Desire. You had the Corinthian. You needed one villain. Save Desire for season 2. I'm glad that they introduced Mason Alexander Park in season 1. But man, it really took out time from John D's character and the Corinthian. Like, pick one of these characters. I personally would have picked the Corinthian. I would have left out John D. David Thewlis's character in this. I would have completely left him out because I thought he was just a boring character. I would have left him out. Maybe added a little tidbit of Desire in there, but kept Corinthian as the main villain. Maybe added a little bit of Desire in there to make Corinthian a little bit stronger of a character. Think that would have added some, maybe where you were wondering how the main characters are going to get out of this one. Because the Corinthian was never going to beat Dream on his own. He just wasn't. He never felt like he was a threat. Maybe if you would have had Desire backing him a little bit stronger, maybe you would have had that. But as far as villains go, you only need one. Don't waste time on not creating depth to that character or that villain by adding 3 that you just don't need in 10 episodes. You just don't need it. So that's the way I felt towards that. As far as plots, the plots just didn't intertwine. Like I said, they felt disjointed. Dream seemed to understand something profound in, like, let's say episode 5, where you understand humans to a certain extent, only to completely lose that profoundness in the very next episode and have to be told again in episode 6 and then seem to lose it again. He never seemed to understand what anybody was telling him about human beings, and that it just seemed completely and totally lost on him, and that just really annoyed the crap out of me, to be honest with you. So that was my kind of take on that. I just felt like after episode 5, it just felt like a new season, and I just couldn't really get into it. I felt like I was just trotting the rest of the way. Felt like the side characters were interesting, but they shouldn't be more interesting than Dream is. And I wish that Mason Alexander Park, if they were going to introduce Desire, maybe flesh that character out a bit. Let us know why Desire wants to take down Dream so badly. I would love to know that. I just personally would love to know that. I felt like that was something that needed to be done this season and not next season to maybe kind of give us a foundation. But unfortunately it wasn't. Overall, I would say this is a work in progress because there was things that I did like. There was storylines that I did enjoy. I enjoyed specific characters. I enjoyed Death. I enjoyed Matthew. I enjoyed Lucien the librarian. I enjoyed specific storylines like the tavern one. I enjoyed Hector and Lyda. I liked who they portrayed as Lucifer. I just felt like too many villains, not enough screen time for everybody, not enough lines for Dream. Besides that, if it was just a more compact story, I felt like based more on Dream, maybe a simpler storyline, maybe I would have enjoyed it a lot more. Maybe if you would have taken the characters from the very beginning in season, I don't know, the first part of the season, in the last part of the season, maybe added those eccentric characters and kept them throughout, and not just add them, halfway through the season. Maybe it would have been a better season. I don't know. Maybe I would have enjoyed the last half of that season a little bit better. But overall, I thought they had some cool side characters. I just felt like the main character just wasn't where he needed to be, unfortunately. So overall, like I said, I'll give it a 6 out of 10. It's a work in progress. I do believe it will get better. I think it has the ability to. I think it should. I think there is a story there. I just think they don't need to get sidetracked by trying to create woke points. And I don't think they need to be sidetracked by having too many villains. Pick one, go with one, give Dream more lines. Overall, guys, let me know what y'all think in the comments down below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know down below. And as always, guys, if you enjoy our channel, check out some of our other channels. Check out Backwoods Gaming, which is a gaming channel that me and Matt have. Check that out if y'all enjoy gaming videos. We do a lot of Sea of Thieves, some Snow Runner, and various other games on there. So check that channel out as well. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Y'all take care.